Hello YouTube, W&J's Handy Dad here, and today we're checking out and installing this home security smart floodlight. I'm going to guess that's pronounced BOMOO. If it's not, let me know in the comments. Anyway, this is a ultra bright LED floodlight, and I can attest to that. I did test it out on the workbench there to see. Claims to have a 110 decibel security siren, two-way talk, weather resistant design, advanced motion detection, infrared LED light sensor, full HD with a Wi-Fi camera, and a reset with a micro SD card slot. So it's got a lot of features that I haven't even begun to explore yet. It appears that you can hook this up as a full security system, and possibly even kind of like those doorbells that let you talk to the people that are at your front door. What I will say is really nice for those of you who are not electricians is you basically can plug this into a standard outlet and hook the light up to here. So if you were not feeling inclined of running electrical wires and so forth, find an outlet. You may need an extension cord to reach where you're going, but it's as simple as that. These wires just connect to there and you're done. I tested this on the multimeter and it is 122 volts, which is basically my house AC coming through here. So you don't have to use this to hook it up. If you don't want to, you can run like a professional electrician and just run your standard AC wiring directly to here and not use this switch. Or like I said, if you are not feeling comfortable doing that, then you just connect those wires there and plug this into the wall and you're good to go. This tag is attached to the light fixture, and I was about to just throw it away, and thankfully I read it. Don't throw it away because it contains a unique code that you're going to need for your system, so this tag is important. So there are 3 flavors, and I have the Plus version. It has 2 separate lights on it. And this shows you the basic installation. So you got your electrical. The main things for you to see is that there's that mounting bracket. So you'll see there are screws there that are holding it on. There's a rubber gasket for weatherproofing purposes, but your mounting bracket is this piece. So when you unscrew from the front, this piece will come off. They were nice enough to include wall anchors, screws, wire nuts, and that little S hook or double J hook, whatever you want to call it, is for hanging it temporarily while you connect the wires, which that's kind of a nice feature to have. Those of you who've used these wall anchors before, you basically drill a hole into your sheetrock or whatever you're mounting to, and those provide a more secure holding than just screwing directly into sheetrock. If you're going directly into wood or something that doesn't use anchors, then you just bypass the anchors and use the screws. And your optimum installation point is approximately 3 meters off the ground, and keep the motion sensor parallel to the ground. It says that way you can pick up human-sized objects at about 8 meters. These are just standard Phillips screws that hold this on. They're a little bit longer than you might expect, so keep turning, they will eventually come off. Also very nice, they've given you a level with this installation bracket so you can make sure that it's level. And they give you a whole lot of places where you can put your mounting screws, which is also nice because you may not be mounting this to a perfectly flat surface. Like in my case, I'm going to be mounting it to a textured surface, and therefore this is going to come in handy, being able to place the mounting screws in not exactly evenly spaced places. In a perfect world, you will have your power source coming through a hole directly through here. So in other words, you'd have this mounted to a wall where the wire's coming out and could mate up with the wires on the camera. In my particular instance, I don't think I'm going to have a hole directly behind there where I can drop the wires through. I'll see once I get up into the attic, but I may have to just drop my wires down behind this bracket, which is not ideal, but it will work. For me, I'm putting it right up here. So I'll place it right there, that way I have room to run the wires behind it and up to the existing location where I've already got wires run. And it's screwed into wood, so it's sturdy, it's not going anywhere even just with the 2 screws. Okay, this is ready to mount up. I did solder in extra wire here so that I can push it straight up through the ceiling and connect inside the house rather than having it connecting over here. So you mount it up like that and then screw in the 2 Phillips screws. Then there's rubber caps that you put over those screw holes. I'm going to grab those. I will push this wire up into the attic so that I can connect it up in there. Yours may have already connected, depending on how you're installing it. So I'm going to connect mine in the attic. So I'm going to get up above where this is. But hardware-wise, this is mounted. Just decide how I want to aim the lights and aim the camera. And the rubber caps. So let's give it a nice clean look and probably also help keep it watertight in there, although in my case this whole area here doesn't get exposed to rain or anything. And connect it to an outlet and then it'll be ready for setup. I push that wire up through the existing hole. I'll just refill that with caulk. That's all that was up there before. And you see that's basically ready to go. You also see I have my existing security camera that was already there next to it. But we are now installing that one. So you can see the wires come up through there, and I will grab those with a grabby tool since they're not in a spot that's easy for me to climb into, but I can pull them closer to me, connect them, and like I said, you can either run an outlet or if you prefer you can just run an extension cord. So what I'm gonna do, there's an outlet there, I'm gonna tap into it with electrical wires, run them across the beam here, and install a new outlet right over where this camera is going to be. Alright, so there's a couple ways you can do an outlet. This is what you call existing construction box, and this is what you call new construction box. Now, those titles may seem a little bit confusing, but basically what this means is this goes to a stud and gets nailed to the side of the stud. This style is meant to cut a hole in sheetrock, push it through the sheetrock, and then when you turn these screws, these flip up and compress. So existing basically means you're putting it into a flat surface like sheetrock. New construction means you're putting it into a bare area and connecting it to the side. The outlet itself is pretty straightforward. You've got a white wire, a black wire, and a green wire. The green is ground. It's usually the one that's not insulated. It's just the bare copper wire. Just going to wrap it around there and tighten that down. The black and white wires, you're going to look on the back. It'll tell you which goes to where. You can either just press them straight in and they lock into place. You can wrap them around and tighten them. You've got the little jumper on the side. You can break those jumpers off and then have separate wires coming in. For example, if you wanted to have, say, one of these a switch and one of these full-time, you'd break that jumper on both sides, run switched power to the bottom and full-time power to the top, or vice versa, whatever you want to do. But for just a straight up outlet, if you just run a set of wires to it and you leave those jumpers in place, then both will be hot all the time, or hot on your switch, or whatever, however you're doing it. So you run your wires through the back of your box, whichever one you're using. They'll come through, connect, and that just sits in there like that, screws in, and then you put your face plate on top. So real easy, straightforward. This is the typical kind of electrical wire you're going to have for a home situation. This is a 14-2, meaning there's a white wire, a black wire, and a ground. 14-3 would be basically an extra wire beyond the point of this video, but basically those are used for, like, if you have two light switches that control the same outlet or light bulb, and you have it basically switch between two hots. Like I said, well beyond the point of this video. This video is just showing you how to hook up the outlet so that you can hook up your camera system. So neutral, hot is the black, ground is the exposed copper wire. So the white is going to go to the white connector on here, black is going to go to the black, copper is going to go to the green. I typically wire these starting at the new outlet that I'm going to and bringing them back to the power source. That way I leave the power on the whole time that I'm working, because there's no power here. So in other words, I'll connect this and I'll run this wire over to wherever I'm hooking it into the source power. I'll be honest, a lot of times I work live, so I will literally take this, hook it up to a live outlet. But obviously the safest thing to do is to turn off the power, connect this, and then turn the power back on. For a project like this, I'll probably turn the power off, because I'll be basically having to remove another outlet like this and connect a wire to it, and I don't want to do that hot, because touching any of these can give you a shock. So it's not really a safe job to work live, but I do work with live power quite a bit. It's usually a good idea to do as much preparation as you can before you get into your workspace, particularly if you're going to be working in tight quarters. So you see, you push the wire to the back of the box, stripped it out here. So we'll just strip the insulation back just a teeny bit on these. You don't need much if you're doing the pressure fittings. You only need if you're going to be wrapping around the sides. But I'm going to try to do, just press them in. So see, once it locks in, it won't come out without you pressing on the little release tab there. And you don't have to do it the way I just did. You can put them side by side, both on the bottom, whatever you want to do. I just did it that way since the jumpers over here are still connected. It doesn't really matter if you do top or bottom. It just makes a little less pressure on this wire when you're forcing it back into the box here. We'll go ahead and turn these down, less likely to be in the way of anything. You can add one extra layer of safety. I kind of recommend, if you've got people that are going to be handling these, and that is you can wrap a layer of electrical tape around this, just so that if somebody does reach in and grab, they won't shock themselves, because obviously if you touch both sides of this, you're going to shock yourself. And the tape gives you one extra layer of protection from that. There's lots of ways to make that loop. If you've got pliers, it obviously goes a little easier. I dropped mine, so I'm doing this by hand, although I may have to go climb down and get my pliers. So that's what it looks like if you don't tape it. Like I said, you can also alternatively connect this to the screw connectors. I like the press connectors for just quick and easy. And like I said, I'll wrap a layer of tape around here, just one little extra layer of protection from somebody reaching in and grabbing this. you see, you want to make sure you get it also over the jumper, because the jumper is hot. So it's not necessary, but that protects somebody if they do reach in and grab this to pull on it. They're less likely to get shocked with that tape on there. And then we'll just put this on with the, because there's so many threads per inch on these screws, it takes a long time to screw them in by hand. So if you have a power screwdriver or drill, it makes the job a lot easier. And with it fully screwed down, you're ready to put your faceplate on. You can do the faceplate after you mount this to the wall or before, in a situation like this where I'm just hammering it onto a board. I'll go ahead and put it on now. One less thing to worry about later. So this is going to be totally safe to touch on the outside, even when it's hooked up hot and live. You can touch these nails and stuff, they're not going to shock you. All the electricity is contained inside the plastic, and so short of sticking your fingers into these holes, which probably would require something like that to actually reach the electrodes in there, this will be totally safe. And so we'll just run this wire over to the next point, which will be the existing outlet that I showed you earlier. I'm going to place my outlet approximately right there, and then you just hammer the nails into the wood and it will be secure. And that is secure and ready to go. So I will run this wire from that new outlet over to the back of this outlet here. I'll poke a hole in the back and run the wires in, drop down this plate and drop down the outlet itself and connect the wires there. And I need to figure out which fuse is controlling this, because it is hot right now and there's not a switch to turn it off. So I have two choices here. One is work hot, which is dangerous in this situation, or turn off the power. Okay, this is my extended wire. It would be the black and white wires that came off of the light for you. I said I just wanted them to be a bit longer, so I went ahead and soldered in extra. So that's a good secure connection. Then you have your off or on. I'm going to leave mine on, and then this just plugs into the new outlet that I installed. So we'll just plug it in like that, and we are ready to go. Okay, I found the fuse, and it's off. So this is no longer hot. And so just like before, take the easiest solution, which will be to press them in. So this isn't ideal, having this much of a mess of wires here, but what's happened is you got power coming into here and then power going out to two other outlets, so that's why this has got so much wiring here. These aren't heavily used outlets, so there's not going to be a real drain on them, and if there ever is, obviously it's going to blow the 20 amp breaker in the breaker box. So I'm not real worried about this, but this is not preferable to do. It's better to basically have like a junction box and junction all these wires together in one place, and then just have one set going to each outlet. And you also need to make sure you connect your ground. Again, you can connect it directly to there, or you can just twist it around the existing ground wire. And you can see why I wanted to do this with the power off, because if this was live, you see I've been grabbing the heck out of this. I'd be shocking myself like crazy. And since I'm standing over an attic opening, how do I know? Because I've done this before. I've touched it and been dancing over the attic opening and not falling through, thankfully, but you know, had a little bit of a scare. And with that, we are done and ready to turn the power on, and then go set up the app on the phone and set up the settings on the light.